Hello, everybody. It is your host, KG82 Live, aka the Ball Brawlers. I am here with my co-host, as always, Mr. Zachariah Earlbeck. Blondie, how we doing today?
Well, if you remember, at the end of last week, we talked about me riding into battle on Thursday with the biggest bet of my entire gambling career. We cashed that motherfucker. I thought we were taking that ship straight to the moon this weekend, but really things sank right after that bet. The gambling went to shit. The fantasy went to shit. But we got the New Jersey custom Earlbeck. You see that? Custom
Nice.
jersey, free. We got the positive vibes. And speaking of gambling, goddamn, Curb, introduce who we got on the pod today.
Oh, I know. I can't wait to announce our guest. He has been buried at the bottom of the power rankings for far too long, working his way up last weekend. Can't wait to see where he is this week after the epic upset of Pooty. I texted him in the fourth quarter saying, hey, kind of come down to the kicker. If he make or miss, will you lock in being on? He said he'll be on. He got the win. Mr. Shane Michael Sapp, how we doing this fine afternoon?
What up? I'm good. I was kind of worried after I committed to that. And then Blankenship, he kept going for field goals. So I got kind of scared. But we're here. We're on the top. We're in first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be a problem because I've absolutely buried you in the power rankings forever and you just keep winning. So I'm going to have to move you up. But people are going to be like, oh, Sap gets on the pod and he keeps climbing in the rankings. It's like, that fucker keeps winning. I don't know what else to do.
So you brought a big smile to my face when you brought me up to number 5. I was pretty pumped. And you started your rankings last week right at number 5. So we'll see how the rankings go this week because I got my sheet. I'm ready to go.
See, you have your sheet, so I guess we're going to touch base. You said how excited you were about seeing the immediate reveal last week's power rankings number 5. What has been your thoughts? Like, you kept winning, and despite that, Zach's kind of buried you at the bottom. Have you given, you haven't really given your side much power rankings? Do you give it a grain of salt? Does it matter to you? What are your general thoughts on the Zach's power rankings so far this year?
He hasn't been wrong. I still don't think, even though I'm first, I'm not going to put myself first, but you'll see. I don't know. My team, they're building. We're building. So we had a good draft, but I don't know. I've made some big moves and I'm waiting on some people to possibly play, pick up some receivers. I feel good.
Big moves that I think has made you a ton better. Don't you think? Like your team now is legit like a contender, I think. And I think it'll get reflected in the power.
The way I see it is I got 2 number 1 draft picks on my team, right? I got Zeke, Adams, and Curb keeps trying to sneak in for both, but
hey, you know what? A man can't do it for trying, but you know what? That's what you guys got to shoot for the moon, and sometimes you land among the stars. And hey, that's how we got Jonathan Taylor on the squad. But you know what? With the one trade that went so well with Zeke, you also had the Kareem for Juju deal. And I have a small little exhortation that you wrote out for our second podcast talking about the negative comments towards your trade, saying that unlike some people who only listen to fantasy football podcasts, I know you're referencing us, you actually watch the games. And so since you've watched these games and you've seen Juju perform compared to Hunt, what exactly are you watching? Like, just please enlighten us.
So, what I was watching, I did watch the game. I mean, I bet on the game. I bet on the Steelers. I'm pretty sure they lost. No, who did I have? Probably Bills. I don't know. But so I watched that week. Juju was getting a lot of targets. And then the following week, he had like some deep passes, but Big Ben was off by like a yard. And so I knew he was getting the deep plays. So I felt like he was going to be the number 1. Obviously, that's not the case anymore because he's injured. And then Johnson, Claypool, yes. Do I wish Hunt was still on my team? Sure. But it opened up my trading realm. I guess it kind of eased me into trading on the year. So it was nice of Taylor Putin's to kind of sneak in my DMs to get me going.
It's easy for us to poo-poo the trade after Juju goes down for the year. So but it is kind of fun to take a shot back after all that.
But he's been getting deep targets though. And I've been watching, but Big Ben has just overthrown him. So I think
Yep.
it comes
And-
down to Big Ben is trash. And so it was a good receiver, but when Big Ben's not performing, I don't know what I can do.
And that is why I started that fucking defense last week, the Broncos defense, and Big Ben fucking shredded me like toilet paper.
Like Swiss
So,
cheese, buddy.
Anyways, so we got to kind of poo-poo. We kind of got to shit talk a little bit of your Juju trade. I mean, the floor is yours, Sap. Is there anything you'd like to make sure that it gets said? There's been lots of slander, lots of Valentino's been taking shots. I was taking shots. This is your opportunity to absolutely unload, Sapper. So the floor is yours.
For which
buddy.
one? On this bad trade, or do you want me to talk about my brilliant trade?
You know what?
wanted
The floor is
to. You know
yours,
what?
Sap.
Don't
Take it where
touch
you
base
want.
don't touch base on the Zeke trade because that was my next point. Leave that out. Touch base on anything else.
Okay. I don't know. I said
I just didn't know if you wanted to absolutely torch or absolutely flame anybody, because people have taken their fair shots at the 4-1 Saps, myself included. So I was going to make sure I gave you the opportunity to take your fair shots back.
no. I don't. Where is Hunt at right now? Do you know what team?
Jared.
He's still with Jared.
I'll get him. I'll get him back.
So yeah, right now Hunt is the RB5, averaging 17 points a game, and he's had through 5 games 5 touchdowns, which has been the big catalyst. So having 5
Right.
touchdowns obviously helps, but you know what? Touchdowns help in fantasy.
So it sucked because the one game that I watched of Hunt, I watched that the first or second week, and you see Hunt playing every other offensive series, and he wasn't getting crap. So I was like, all right, Pooty. So I offered him Hunt, and he's like, yeah, I'll do Hunt for Juju. And I was like, well, let's go. I thought I had quite the bargain, but I don't know. I guess he won in the end. I don't even know who, because obviously he's on Jared's now.
Yep. So then that
Yeah.
next part ended up with the Kareem Hunt, James Robinson 3-way fiasco that we announced on the pod with Zach with the Kittle. So that's how he ended up on Jared. But
So
then
are we going to touch up?
Go ahead. I was just going to
go
say
ahead,
the
Sapper.
Zeke trade, the big blockbuster that we had there with Mahomes, Zeke. What in the world happened there? You now have 2 first-round picks on your squad, which you absolutely love, and those are going to be the huge horses of your team, along with the legend Tom Brady at QB. So, what are your thoughts there on that trade? Because that was the big win.
So
And Sap, not only your thoughts, tell us how that went. Like,
Oh,
did you?
I'm ready.
Were you? Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I woke up. I obviously put in a waiver for Williams, right? I woke up. I was like, Jared, you son of a bitch. So Jared got him. So I texted Jared. I'm like, good morning. How are you doing this morning? And he's like, oh, I'm so popular this morning, getting all these texts for these trades. I'm like, I fucking doubt it. But so I was like, all right, let's go, Jared. I'm not going to work today.
Yeah.
So then
that shit
I was sweet talking him. I started with, he loved Pat. And, you know, I was talking Pat up so much, but Tom's right up there.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept talking Pat. Like I kept sending him, I was like, Pat, like a couple great event signs, Tom Brady. But you knew my love for Tom Brady. And then all of a sudden he was
Jared should have seen through that shit right off the bat.
Yeah. So we started off with Pat and Kittle for like, who did I trade? No, Pat and Kittle for, who was it? For Tom and Zeke. And obviously that was not the best trade. And then but I set a timer. I was like, Jared, you got 15 minutes. And he's like, Shane, I'm teaching the youth of this country. Give me a break. I was like, okay, I'll extend it another 5 minutes. And then it died. Okay. The trade completely died. I was pissed. Curb comes in, and what Curb, Jared, and I were trying to do wasn't really working because I wanted Zeke. Like I don't know why I wanted him so bad. But then 11 a.m. comes around. I was like, hello, Jared. I hope your lunch is going well. What are you having? And he's like, it starts at 11:30. So then I was just sweet talking him. And then I threw in David Montgomery. He said, interesting. I was like, oh shit, let's go.
You felt a nibble.
Yeah. So, and then the Curb pointed out the cherry on everything. So he was okay with Montgomery. And then I was like, what about Williams? Let's throw in Williams, because I knew about my buys. I was in trouble, and I knew Jared didn't know about Williams at the bottom of his lineup because he has so many other running backs. So I was like, what about Williams? You have 34 other running backs, Jared. And, he's just so easy to convince. And so he's like, all he said was, send it. So then it went through. Blockbuster trade. Like, that was huge.
How fucking pumped were you when you saw, send it?
Oh, I was so pumped. Because, like I said, Zeke and Adams, I got 2 number 1 draft picks. Number 1 first round, I guess.
I couldn't fucking believe it. All of a sudden, my phone lights up, and it's like, somebody accepts a trade. Pat Mahomes and Zeke was the only 2 names I see. I'm like, holy fuck, what just happened?
Which, going forward, Zeke's not leaving my lineup.
Oh,
as you have him 1 week,
absolutely.
He's solid every single week.
No, absolutely. I'm guessing Curb is going to hold the handcuff over your head for the rest of your career.
Yes.
But other than that, Zeke's going nowhere.
But Curb doesn't understand. I'm a gambling man. I would rather die with Zeke on my team without the insurance of Pollard and have Zeke get hurt than, I don't know.
That's my whole.
You built a nice.
My whole stick is to hold those.
You've got a little gambling.
My whole stick is to hold those high handcuff running backs, and so I love holding on to Pollard. He actually does pretty good. So if I need running back help, he actually does well enough on his own. But I have the $1 million ticket. If somehow Zeke does get hurt and he ends up being a starter, I got plenty of stable of running backs to wheel and deal. So I love holding on to that.
The issue I have is Curb. He doesn't just want to trade you Pollard. He's like, how about Pollard and these 6 other guys for those 4 people? And it's like, can we just do a simple running back swap? Huh?
What running back swap would actually help me? Funny. You know how many running backs I got. I got 3 running backs. I might as well get something good in return.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? Hey, it is what it is. We all got to go. Go ahead, Zach.
Sorry, cut you out. I got one more question for you, Sapper. So do you think there's still one more big trade looming, or are you pretty stand pat? You're going to go Josh Axman from here on out, where you might do the waiver wire if you're feeling it, or you.
Well, I can't do a Josh Axman because I will keep an eye on my lineup. But as for staying still on, I don't know. I like my team. Ross was sneaking in for some tight ends, but I hit the waiver with Cleveland's tight end. So I feel pretty good on my chances. I like my running backs. I wouldn't mind getting Pollard, but if Curb's gonna throw the whole kitchen sink at me, it's not worth it.
Now, as a somebody who Kirby held a handcuff last year, that motherfucker will hold you hostage for the rest of the year.
Every single day. Hang on.
It's once a week typically. It's usually once a week, and I always throw it out there. So the crazy
weekly updated Adams offer.
Yep.
Whoever
absolutely.
your third best player is, Kirby's gonna just go after everybody.
Yep.
I absolutely will, and you know what? That's part of the stick, and sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. I know Zach eventually folded last year, so just take it 1 week at a time, and you never know what's going to happen. But I guess the last thing, I will give you major kudos on getting Kadarius Toney. I was surprised how few people put a claim on him, and I actually I thought he was going to go well earlier, I'm sure you did, because he was my second guy I wanted picked up. And if I thought he was going to go that long, I would have claimed him in front of you. So kudos on that. What are your general thoughts, I guess, for the rest of the year? You're already sitting at 4-1. You're potentially 3 wins away, is my guess, from getting out of the Sacco and relinquishing your title. What are your thoughts for the rest of the year?
I don't know if you guys have seen my bench, but they're coming back, boys. They are coming back. Devontae Parker, he was leading the Dolphins in receptions, targets. So I feel good about him becoming a lead receiver there. And then Landry, he's coming back from IR. And then obviously I picked up Wilson from Zach, and I honestly think he's going to come back and start for the Niners. But that's just my own thought. My team's in a good place. It's hard to compete against everybody else, though, because, man, you guys are dropping points. And I can't drop 133 points every week. I don't think my team's built for that.
130.
Yeah.
Kirby went 190 last week. It's like, if he's going to do that ever again, we might as well just fucking lay over because that's ridiculous.
It's unreal.
Yeah, that was fun to say the least. But yeah, you know what? So long as you get the consistent weeks, I mean, you beat me week 1 because I had a down week. So all you need to do is find an opponent on the right week and make the playoffs, and then anyone can make a run. And you have 2 horses now you have Tom Brady, who's the number 1 quarterback, potential number 1 running back in Zeke, and number 1 receiver in Adam. So week in and week out, all you need is for them to go the F off, and you're going to be right in it. So your team is a lot more formidable than it was early in the power rankings. I think that's for sure.
Isn't that frustrating though? Because my matchups the first 3 weeks obviously were trash. Obviously, I picked them on like their worst scoring weeks, but like Jared could be in the same situation, being 4-1.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what's beautiful.
You're saying just like if you run into the right guy.
But now my team's going to turn it around. I don't need their worst scoring weeks. Bring it on, fellas.
And it all started with Pooty dropping 130 something, and Pootie's like, "You son of a bitch! The 1 week I play him, he freaking drops a 130 burger." But kudos to you. You made the
Did
move
you ever
that
hear
made
from
it
him?
happen. Oh, absolutely. He absolutely
Really?
heard from him. It was like, "Son of a bitch, Sap. He has to drop 130 the 1 week I play him."
He didn't even text the group chat,
Yeah,
just like Zach.
I don't think he was thrilled. What do you mean? I was blowing up the group chat on Monday.
When your matchup's not there.
Yeah, the first time Zach.
Can you imagine? So Blankenship. Yeah.
Well, let's just touch base on that. The big matchups that obviously came down on Monday night was blowing up the group chat. The Rodrigo Blankenship. First, he was injured at the end of the first half because he had a hip injury no one knew about. Wasn't even going to attempt like a 42-yarder because it was too long for him. Missed it, but there's a penalty. Actually went back in. Rodrigo kicked it and made it. All of a sudden, the second half comes down. He had 2 missed extra points, 1 blocked and 1 just straight out miss. And that's the only reason he won. And that was a huge matchup between you and Pooty because both of you guys would be sitting at 3-2 if it wasn't for that matchup.
Yeah. I mean, you guys can obviously understand the adrenaline rush of the guy. Like, he had 2 chances to beat me, 2 40-yard chances, and he got blocked once and then missed the other one. And my God, I couldn't really sleep. It was just,
oh fuck no.
I fell asleep with like a smile on my face, knowing that Pooty was dropping down on the standings and I was staying up at the top. Because, I mean, we're all 2-3, 3-1, whatever. I don't know. It's a huge week for everybody.
Oh yeah, it was a very big
Don't
week.
you love?
Especially with Pooty.
Don't you love when you slide into bed?
Go ahead, Zach.
Sorry, Curb.
I was just gonna say, Pooty texted me earlier. We are both talking here. So Pooty texted me earlier, and he just says like, "Son of a bitch! If I only would have started Justin Herbert or Bills like I do every other week, I would have beaten his ass because those 2 guys went off." But go ahead, Zach.
No, I think that is huge. Is like the start sit decisions. I mean, Sap scored 133 and got fucked by Juju Smith-Schuster too. So it's like,
Right.
I mean, as like salty as I'm sure Pooty is about the whole kicking debacle, which I don't think Rodrigo was on the injury report or anything all week. So I don't blame Pooty for being salty about that. But at the same time, when Juju drops a 0.6, gets hurt in the middle of the game, you know, it's like sometimes you just got to tip your cap and move on to the next week. So,
Yep. It was a beautiful week.
Amen to that. But the other big matchup that everyone was talking about, I guess I'll toot my own horn. It wasn't looking good at halftime, and there was a certain long touchdown to Pittman, but holy shit, did my team decide to go off in the second half? Like 190 something? What the hell freaking happened with Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson?
I mean, first of all, I think a little toot to my horn because I think we've been nailing the week matchup previews because we had this one as our big game. Holy shit, did it come down to, well, I mean, eventually you kind of ran away with it, but fucking watching your guys' projected go back and forth. I got Bill texting me on the sideline, freaking out because he's got money on the side, and he's got like fantasy going, so he's freaking out. The group chat's going good. It was, you know what? That's what this is all about right there. Fucking Monday Night Football. Things are going back and forth. That's as good as it gets right there.
Yeah, it sure as hell was something. I mean, there was a point like in the end, like I ended up winning by 54, which was the largest margin of victory in the whole league. And if you would have talked to us an hour earlier, I was projected to lose by 10 after that Michael Pittman, Randy Moss like touchdown. I was like, oh shit, I'm about ready to get fucked. But that was a big matchup because actually, if Sap and I were to lose, which was very possible earlier in the night, then I think 8 teams would be 3-2 right now, and Josh and Jared would be the only teams that wouldn't be 3-2. So we were that close to chaos. But as co-leaders of the Natty division, with Sap having the tiebreaker, I'm very happy that we're on the winning end of that one. That's for damn sure.
I hate being in your division. Hate it.
Hey, you know what? We can't
I
all win,
will
but we
say-
love being in Jared's division. That's right, at least, right, Sap?
Yeah.
That's a nice 2 wins, right?
I will say too, it sucks to be built where you score. I know I felt that where you score the second highest points, but you play the guy with the first amount of points and you still fucking lose. So I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure Built's getting Christian McCaffrey back, so I'm sure he's not too sad. But I know that feeling when you score like what did he score? 139 or something like that, and still end up losing. It's just a stab right in the heart.
Yeah, but you know, Bill, he hedged it by probably betting the Ravens.
Oh, he hedged it. He did a
he
parlay
did.
bet with Mark Andrews and Jonathan Taylor to score a
That's
touchdown.
right.
He bet
And
a parlay of those two to score, bet $50, paid $250 on it. The parlay
Yep.
despite losing in fantasy. I say that's a pretty good consolation prize. And I actually had a whole rant prepared before the Monday night game about how much I hate Josh Allen, because the last 4 times I played him, he's been my mortal enemy. Because twice last year with Pooty, I lost in the championship to Josh Allen. Earlier this year, Jared had him, went the fuck off, trades him to Built. I played him twice in 3 weeks, and he averages 34 points against me in the last 4 matchups. And the other games, I think he averages like 26. So I got a personal thing against Josh Allen. Fuck him. And please show me mercy, and Built, don't fucking trade him to the next opponent I play. Please, Lord.
That'd be me. I should shoot Built
just for fun.
Sup.
Just do a trade for the week.
I'm gonna text Built Sup on the pod.
Oh, Jesus, Lord. That sounds dangerous. Well, Zach, we're not going to try and distract you too much here. We got to jump into your power rankings. So with that in mind, I think Sap has his own initial power rankings as well. So he'll be able to touch base on what his initial thoughts are as well. But let's see if I can share the screens and what we've had in past weeks, and let me know when you guys can see it.
Love that, Sap. I love this. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through mine, and then you guys are going to give your, Sap, I do want to hear where you've got people, but I'm going to guess we both have the bottom 2 the exact same. We've got Mr. Jared at 0-5. Now, let me ask you boys. So we kind of get to do this fun game every year where it's like, okay, don't be the first one that loses to Jared. Like, when do we start that game? Has that started already, or is that a little later down the season?
Once we get to 0-7, that's when my ticker hits, because that's halfway through the regular season. So I think Jared's 2 weeks away from that ticker. And one of the things we'll probably touch base on the matchups for next week. I think this is the first week of all cross division matchups. So we've been mostly playing in your division. This is the first week we're going division versus Natty versus Bush division. So that'll be interesting.
Okay. So I got Jared. Go ahead, Sap.
I guess I know who. Just say your number 9 while you're at it.
Axe.
Yeah. So I was back and forth on this one though. I
Between
understand.
the 2 of them.
Yeah, I understand.
Dude,
Jared's 0-5, but
I wanted to say the exact same thing, but I thought I was going to get roasted. I was like, when you count that Barkley's gone, I go, I don't see that big of a difference between Jared and Axe. Sap, I'm glad you brought it up, because I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, Jared has a good team. They're just not performing. But I think you can switch Jared and Axe. But I have Jared at 10 just because of the 0-5. You have to.
Yep, I agree. And you know what else hurts? And I guess Axman, well, that does hurt. But Axman was in the Sacco playoffs last year, but Jared has a history of being here. So maybe the history part of this is weighing on this rating too.
Now, question: How do you stay motivated and like text people back for trades every single week as you continue to lose? Though that would be hard.
I think this is what I really think. I think that's the beauty of our league, because most people 0-5 would just say, fuck it, I'm not going to look at it anymore.
Josh.
But we don't want to have that nutsack hanging in our house all the time. So you are motivated to at least get out of that nutsack realm. So, and you know what? Kudos to us, Sap. We haven't even brought the fact up that you're the
Change the
sack.
subject. Number 8.
I was about to say I should be changing your name to introduce you, but that's my fault. I'll make sure to change that next time you're on.
So now this might be a little controversial, okay? I have at 8, I have Luddy and I have Schultes at 7. Now that's exactly where we had them last week. Both are 3-2 and both are coming off of wins. But again, try not to overreact. This is where I think things will shake out in the end. These two could make me look like total idiots if they go and win this week. I'm going to have to basically give them the SAP treatment and just let them fly up the rankings, because I've had them down here too long and they've just been winning. Look at Luddy. Luddy was 1-2. Then he goes and wins last week, wins this week. If he goes 3-0, it's like, what else do? You just got to start shooting them up. So, Sap, who do you have at 8 and 7?
I have Schultes at number 8.
Okay.
And that is strictly because one, Gronk's injured.
Yep.
Edwards Helaire. Yeah. Edwards Helaire is on the IR. He's got bye weeks coming up. He's got too many Bucks players. I just feel like you can't put so many guys on one team on your team. Because I don't know. I get Tom. I get he has high scoring weeks, but you can't put that much trust in one team.
Yep, and I think it's very interesting. Both of these teams were hit with the injury bug last week. You already hit on some of Schultes' injuries, but Russell Wilson being out for Kyler's team. But right now, the value pick of the first round of the first/second round looks like it's Austin Eckler. My old boy, he's been an absolute stud this year. So I'm interested to see how Kyler's team does. Hopefully Chris Carson can get healthy. That would be huge for his team. And his receivers are top notch. So if he can get his running back situation figured out and stay afloat for his quarterback, I think Kyler will be a team on the rise in the long term.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. It's like I look at Kyler's team and he goes Eckler, Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson. I mean, Chris Carson's supposed to be there. Russell Wilson's supposed to be there. He's got Marquise Brown, who I think's he's the 6th best receiver right now. So it's like, fuck, he's got guys. So maybe I'm a little too low on Luddy. I admit that's a possibility.
One last comment on Kyler's team. We've said it the last 2 podcasts, I think. Can you please change his defense? I know the Washington was good going into the year, but their defense is so bad. And week after week, they have just been terrible. So they're right now ranked the 29th defense out of 32 teams. There's a waiver wire out there for a reason. Please do not play Washington defense versus Kansas City is my one call to Kyler.
He's not listening to this.
You got to let him run his team, man.
That's my plea. But hey, with that, we've got the number 7 through the 10 seats. So as of right now, that's where your projections are for the Sacco. I have a feeling we're going to hear Zach's name soon, despite his whole motto being, I don't want to overreact from 1 week. So Zach, let's hear it.
Wait.
Right,
give me number
Zach,
7.
Kyler,
my 7's not.
It's not Kyler.
So I have 8 as in Schultes, and then 7 is actually Ross. He's going to get mad at me, but I have Ross at 7 because you can't trust Murray every single week, and Swift is losing his starting role over to the guy that's on my team. So,
and not only, and this is something too. Ross is a team that I seem to like. I don't know what to do with him. I like look at him and I'm like, oh, maybe I should put him down, and then I like end up having him higher. Something's wrong with Kyler Murray this week too. I think he was injured at the end of last game. Yeah, and now they're saying that he could be injured again. So that would be a huge blow to Ross's team. I have him, based on my power rankings, factor in that Kyler Murray is still Kyler Murray, the little Yoda man that runs around and chucks bombs. But I don't know. Something could be going on there. But good point, Sap, there for Roscoe. So number 6, I have Taylor Pudence. He had a tough loss, right?
Boy.
We talked about the kicker. He's 2-3, so that looks a little odd being ahead of Schultes. and Luddy, who has better records than him. The other thing going on with Pootie's team, we got Dalvin Cook not 100%, Calvin Ridley. I don't know what's going on there. And then, how big of a downgrade does DK Metcalf get without Russell Wilson? But it seems like Pootie has sort of figured this game out a little bit. He still scored 130 plus I think 130 last week. So I've still got him on the inside, looking up at the power rankings. Zap, where do you have 6?
I have 6 is Luddy.
Okay.
And then I got Pootie coming in next.
Okay.
The 5 spot.
So I have at number 5, Zach Earlbeck, the Sap Vegas Painted Raiders.
Called it.
What a dud. 84 points. It's just not good enough. We really need to we had a come to Jesus meeting. We had to look internally at the group. We lost our focus a little bit last week. This is the tough part of my schedule. I go Curb, then Sap, then Built. So that is the tough part of the schedule. I could easily see those being 3 losses, and I'm looking at 3 and 5. Shit, that would not be good. So that's who I've got at the 5 spot. And then this is where I've got Ross at 4. Like I said, I didn't know what to do. He's got Travis Kelce, and he's got Kyler Murray. So those should be positional advantages, assuming Kyler Murray is himself. And there's no way I could rank myself higher than him because he just beat me, and Pootie's 2 and 3. So it's like, this is where Ross landed. Sapper, who do you got at 4?
4, I come in at myself at number 4.
That's where I have you, Shane, if it makes you feel any better. I kudos your ranking. I think that's fair.
Love that.
Well, I don't think it's fair because I've got, and this happens every time. The guest comes on and they've been flying up the rankings and it looks like a dick sucking fest. But I've got Sapper in at 3 in that top upper echelon. I mean, what did I say on week 2? I said if he keeps winning, he's going to go up, and I'm a man of my word. We've got Sap at 4 and 1. Like we've talked about, your team has drastically improved. I think you're a legit contender, so that's who I got at 3.
So for the record, you had me the first 2 weeks, right?
Scroll, Curb, can you scroll? I don't know how far you've got it over.
I got as of week 3. So I think the first 2 weeks, I think you were.
Yeah. So week 2, I had Sap at the bottom. Then for 2 weeks, you went at 9.
Yep.
Then last week you flew up to 5, and so it's just been a meteoric rise since the start, Sapper. And I have to just tip my cap because you've made some good moves, and looks like you got yourself a hell of a squad right now.
Week 2, you beat Jared, which helped you get out of the bottom of it. I remember that. You obviously beat me week 1, so that's where that all came in.
Does that still hurt, Curb?
Clearly.
No, not at all. I mean, that loss was the best thing that happened to me. It gave me Elijah Mitchell, which opened up the floor for me, and Jonathan Taylor.
True.
So I will take that loss, and I look at the big picture. So I'm happy to lose week 1 with the lowest points and get my guy. So we got number 3. We got Sap for Zach's ranking has Sap. Sap, who do you have at number 3?
I got Zach at 3.
That's where I would have Zach as well. So kudos. So far, me and Sap are in tune with our power rankings.
So you would have had, Curb, you would have had Ross at 7, Schultes 8, Luddy 6.
I haven't focused so much here near the bottom. I think I had Zach. I would have Zach at 2 or 3. And then I think I had Shane at 4. And my surprise when I think I would have Pootie at 2 or 3. So I would have myself, probably you, Zach, then Pootie, Shane, and then it would have been a mess under there.
Yeah.
Like you brought up last week, you're like, you could literally put these in a blender. It's so hard to tell with that middle pack.
Exactly. Yeah, you're splitting hairs 100%. And I mean, look at how close we were. So if Kirby doesn't blow up, and if Pootie's kicker is not a gomer, I mean, then we have 8 3-2 teams, and then this would be like the toughest job in the entire world. Where
do I move if I lose to Pootie? Do me and Pootie just switch? Probably.
Well, I don't know, because you'd have to see what everybody else does too, So, because I know I play Kirby, so if Kirby
right now
beats
you
me-
jumped up 2 spots, Sap, from last week, and Pooty
Right.
dropped 1 spot for losing, or 2 spots for losing to you. So it was a 2-shot swing for you guys. All right, Zach. So I'm gonna guess. Big guess. Is Built number 2?
I've got Bill Tino at 2 and 3, all the way up at 2. So that part is a little hard to look at. It looks a little odd with his record there. He scored the second most points last week. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he has the second most points scored on the season. And guess who's back? Back again, Christian McCaffrey. So obviously Bill's team gets a 20-point boost with that motherfucker back in. So Bill's going to be a scary, again, this is not about where we're at today. It's about where I think people are going to finish. So I have Built at number 2, and obviously that means I've got Curb at the top. Gigantic week. We've kind of touched on it already. My favorite part, Sap, before you give your top 2, my favorite part of these rankings is we've got the top 3 teams all from the same division. So if you guys could please just beat the fuck out of each other, and then let one of us come sneaking in. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough division. Everyone was harking our division being the weakest, but right now, we're doing pretty good. We got the top 2-point scorers in the league between me and Bill, and then Schultes is sitting there in the 5 slot. And overall, I think the divisions are pretty balanced this year. We both kind of got a quote unquote stinker between Josh and Jared, so divisions are split pretty evenly. But Sap, let's touch base on your final 2. Do you got the same order there as well?
Yeah, I got Built and then Curb, of course. I mean, Built was kind of stumbling on this high ceiling bullshit, or like 9-foot ceilings, or I don't even know what he was talking about last year. He said it like he said it like 6 different times. What he was trying to say was he's pretty consistent with scoring a lot of points, I think. I trust Belt's team at number 2, but I think it's hard not to put Kirby at number 1, because I don't know. I'm all about consistency. And then obviously Curb, he's making the moves, man. So, but on that note,
wait, I got one more thing. So Bill, I remember prior to in this podcast, I texted him sup. He said LOL, both F, which I think was a mistake because he followed it up with nothing. I said Josh Allen. He said LOL, okay. So that's where that conversation's at. Anyways, keep going. Sorry, interrupt.
So I think when you're in our division with me, Belt, and Curb's coming after my top players, I think you have to play a little bit of defense. Like, I don't want to give Curb these top players because I feel like I'm only going to make him better, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to keep these guys on my team. Like, at some point, you have to trade based on your finish, right? I guess. I don't know how you word that, but I'm not going to trade these good guys because it'll make my competition better. That's right next to me and is scoring 192 points. Like, I'm just giving Curb the belt.
Hey, you know what? You can't hurt a man for trying, and that 100%. And a lot of the rationale, I think, of why Zach and I usually don't do trade with each other is, even though the trade might make sense for you, it all depends on your context. Do you think you're going to make the playoffs? If yes, you want to look at your opponents in the playoffs. You don't want to make them better. If you're making a trade with someone you think that's going to be in the Sacco, you can trade away players and make them better, but you don't have to worry about playing them if you're going to be playing in 2 different things. So that's kind of the context that I look at it.
Yep.
Well, and I was going to add too, like, let's say, for example, this is the last week of the year, and it's, let's say Schultes is at 7 and Luddy's at 8 and Pootie's at 6. It's like, okay, Pootie's playing Schultes this week. Dalvin Cook is out for 1 week or something. It's like, okay, if you lose, motherfucker, you're out. So I'll take Dalvin Cook for and I'll give you this guy with a real sweet matchup. So it'll get you into the dance, but you're going to be, once you get there, it's going to be a little tough hill battle. So it's like, you kind of got to get there and just hope everything else goes. So it like Kirby was saying, and I think Sap was alluding to it too. It depends on where you're at in this whole like you said, blender. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, I think we got to at least touch base really quickly on what Fantasy Pros has for ranking because people seem to like what we kind of do there and seeing the other opinions on it. So the rest of season rankings, let's see if we can hide this and just focus on where Shane and Zach have them. So right now they're in line with having me at number 1, and for the rest of the season they have Zach number 2, Thielen it is at number 3. So they actually have Schultes pretty high, and Built was a surprising big riser. With I think that's a result of CMC coming back, and they're now projecting that. So that was the big one for the rest of the season.
Look at Axe at 5.
That was one. There was 2 that caught my eye, but remember this doesn't take into account your current records. So right now they're projecting Seth has the 9th best roster going forward, but he does have the best record in the whole league right now. But right now with Axe, that's one of the ones that really caught people's eye, at least Zach's eye. Really just a whole bunch of middling areas and tight end and the flex were the 2 areas that they see strengths for him.
So let me ask you an Axeman philosophical question. Do you think he's kind of like he's got this shtick, right, where he doesn't trade? You think he's got to kind of die on that ship now, right? Like there's just no way he can trade, right?
Absolutely. So, go ahead.
Has anyone ever actually tried to trade with Josh?
I don't even send him any.
Don't bother.
Really? He just doesn't try, huh? Like if you offer him one.
I know I traded with him 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago, I think.
I believe in the 5 years of the Yarsky, I think he's completed 2 trades, if I recall correctly. I think he's done 2 trades in 5 years, which me and Zach do 2 trades in 1 day. So in 1 day of our 5 years, we have done as many trades as Josh has done in 5 years. And honestly, I think the trades make more fun. Do we overtrade? Maybe, but it makes it more fun when you can wheel and deal and you get everyone's reaction to a trade dropping. That's always the fun part.
Yep.
But the surprising fall that I saw with this power rankings is they've always been high on Pootie's team, and they took a huge downfall this week. I'm not sure if they're kind of taking into account Dalvin Cook being injured and worried about his rest of the season outlook, because I think that could be a big point of differentiation between Pootie and Schultz's team. Between the health of Dalvin Cook and CMC are going to be the big carrying points between those 2 teams and who ends up bigger. So it'll be interesting to see where things kind of end up, but that's the Fantasy Pros rankings that they have, and we'll see how it all lays out here going forward. But with that in mind, I think the last thing we kind of wanted to touch base on, Zach, was some of the matchups that we kind of had earmarked for next week. So did you have any that you had highlighted? I know I had one for sure that we wanted to touch base on, but I feel like it could be the same one.
Now, this is going to be selfish, and I, you know what, just don't give a shit. I've got the YarskCap Host Bowl this week circled in red ink, starred. We had this. Sap Vegas has had this fucker circled since the second the schedule came out, because Kirby's knocked me out of the playoffs the last 2 years. He's my bugaboo. He's my fucking thorn in my foot. So you know what? We're coming off a bad one. We got to get the boys. We might have got caught in a little look ahead spot, for you gamblers out there, little look ahead spot maybe. We're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at this one. Hopefully get the dub.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Sap, I feel like you got something to say. Go ahead.
No, oh my goodness. I'm just looking at projections. It looks like it's going to be pretty even.
Yeah, we're going to be in a close one. And like Zach said, I guess I've been lucky the past few years where I've knocked him out of the playoffs a couple times, once for the belt and once it kind of hurt his chances for a bye. His old rival used to be Sap, so I wonder if that has kind of mellowed, because I know you two used to be big fantasy rivals there. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the reason Sap was my rival was because last year, I mean, no offense, Sap, but you were like a lock for the playoff or for the Sacco off. And all I needed was to win against you. And then I think I got a bye if I beat you.
You would.
And then I laid an absolute dud. Sap beats me. I lose in the first round, and the rest is history. So, I mean, I don't think I end up winning it anyways, because Pootie's team went banana lands the last week. But it's still, that first round entry hurts a lot worse than. So yeah, Sap. People don't fucking forget.
Yeah, no. I mean, as I look at the matchup, Jalen Hurts, there's going to be like 90 points in that game versus Tampa Bay. And
I
then
fucking hope so.
Lamar Jackson, coming off of his last game, how does he not go back and do the same thing? He's got confidence.
What is eventually? I mean, it's inevitable, right? We're gonna have Derrick Henry on Monday night against AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs for the dub. And
Oh shit!
My perfect scenario is AJ Brown, Kirby's Titan, gets a game-winning touchdown and stabs a nice Titan spear right through your fucking heart, Kirby. I say that with love and respect.
I probably have to hedge my bet if it looks that close and rock my AJ Brown jersey and place a touchdown score for AJ Brown. But if we're looking at the Week 6 matchup, currently it gives me and Kyler a 100 this week. So those two teams look like they're pretty solid this week. And for your team, Zach, it gives you a 93. Right now, neither of us has a kicker, so that's kind of impacting it. But I was surprised that I got 100 without a kicker. So
explain the 100.
So it just depends on what your power ranking is. This, instead of the earlier one was just rest of season. This is just for this week and what your matchups are. So it kind of projects like what kind of matchups you have based upon who your running back 1, running back 2 are playing this week. So that's kind of how
you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Curb, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Can you click on Kyler's matchup?
Yep.
Well, that's
me. On Kyler's team. Sorry.
Oh, team.
No. I'm sorry. So I was surprised, and to be honest with you, he's rolling out Heineke with the injury to Russell Wilson. I was surprised to see the 100 with Taylor Heineke as the starting quarterback, even though I do think that's a great streaming matchup, honestly. So I'm just curious at what they were showing. So.
Yeah, I think in terms of, because we're only a 10-team league, like having the 10th best quarterback isn't necessarily a bad thing. I know that Zach's been the 10th best quarterback a lot in these rankings with Hurts, and he averages 22 points a game. Granted, they're all in garbage time, but points are points, baby. So that's one that it'll be interesting. He's just so strong in some of the other areas, which really makes up his team. But defense and quarterback are two of his weak spots. But the one matchup that I really had highlighted was a battle of the 2 and 3 teams across division. So we got Pooty going up against Bill, which is the number 5 versus number 2 matchup. And I think this is a huge matchup in terms of potential future playoffs, because loser obviously goes to 2 and 4. We think 7 wins is going to make the playoffs. And so you have to have a solid 5 and 3 stretch down the end to make the playoffs if you lose this game. Right now we got, assuming McCaffrey's healthy, we got Built at a 98 and Pooty at a 94. And I think this is going to be a good classic matchup. I know Bilt's got Josh Allen on Monday night, so that'll be huge for his team. And Pooty's got the Bills defense on Monday night, so that has another potential Monday night implication. And I'll be excited to see where that one goes and kind of go from there. I think both teams are projected over 120, which will be a huge high scoring affair.
Now, for the record, Bilt has Josh Allen for now.
That's true. If he trades you Josh Allen, I will tip my cap to you and see what in the world is going on. I mean, I could already picture you're sending out a wide receiver and Jalen Hurts for Josh Allen just to put a thorn in my side. I already know that's the offer. So
you have to.
I mean, at this point, like because I agree with you, Sab. I think Jalen Hurts is going to torch this week. I think him and Brady, by the end of the game, they might be wondering who's the GOAT. But because I'm such a big fan of like the
superstitious,
I am superstitious, and the content of it would just be fantastic. If Kirby says Josh Allen is his thorn, and all of a sudden he strolls into the lineup the next week, it's like I am such a sucker for the content. I just feel like I'd have to do it regardless if it was a good trade or not.
Josh Allen will drop 34 on me. I will lock and loaded book it. And if you trade for Josh Allen, Emmanuel Sanders will be in my lineup, so I can mitigate all of the points and hopefully throw tutties to Sanders. That's all I know for damn sure.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, shit, with that in mind, guys, I don't know how much more that we got. We got the power rankings with touch based on this week's matchups and what's all going to go on. Stafford, Zach, you guys got any closing comments for the people?
I don't know.
I have sorry, Sap, I'm going to cut you off here because I have something very important to say. Sap, the guest of the year so far, you had your own power rankings. You did your research. That's the shit I fucking love. So to me, you know I was burying you on the power rankings, but to show up with your own power rankings and the research, that's that shit, man. I tip my
Not
cap
at
on
Reds.
that shit.
I should have got a background of Reds just to fuck with you guys, but no, I don't know. It was fun to be on the podcast, but I know how to handle being on a podcast. I'm not going to be at Reds, I'm not going to be talking to people at Reds. I know how to do it. You're bringing the A team on the podcast.
I know, especially when you kick his ass in fantasy, and that's all that matters. Keep his ass at 2-3, and we'll stay up there at 4-1. But with that in mind, I think we got to put a wrap on the Week 6 YarskCap. Thanks everyone for listening. If you want to be our guest on the next pod or coming up, let us know. We've been through how many guests already, Zach? I don't know if we're going to double up on people or if we're just going to have to go a few weeks, or what are we going to do here for guests, my man?
I mean, shit, we could start bringing in people's wives like we did last year.
So can I make a request?
Absolutely.
I would like to be on. So after I get my bye week, or before I get my bye week, will you bring me on for the playoffs? Like right before the playoffs? When I get my bye week?
What happens when you don't get it?
Let's put it in the calendar. If Sap gets the bye week, you're on the pod for sure going into week 2 of the playoffs.
Let's go.
I want to earmark no matter what. If Sap and Kyler play in the postseason, that's always a matchup to get those two on, because those two is an epic rivalry of another level. But that's just my 2 cents. But with that in mind, good luck to everybody except for the dipshit that gets a jersey of his own name on the back. I mean, yeah, we're not in 5th grade anymore, dude. But with that in mind, happy football, everyone, and go Bald Brawlers, baby.
Peace.
Peace.